What is up, everybody? So, when I saw that Evangelion was coming out on Amazon, I decided, I was like, oh wow, this is a great opportunity to watch the series and give my review on it. Little did I know this was going to be one of the biggest commitments of my life. But in all seriousness, I did not expect to drain this much time into this franchise. It took me a day and a half to finish the original anime, but once I was done with that, I was like, oh, I can move on to the reboot series. But then I didn't realize there was 2 other movies after the original anime, so I was like, fuck, so I watched both of them. After that, I was like, I could finally move on to the rebuild series. But then I didn't realize that the rebuild had 4 movies, so I was like, fuck. So it took me a whole nother day just to watch 3 movies. And then I finally got to the 4th movie, which I'm going to be doing the review on, and I didn't realize that that was 2 hours and 36 minutes. Holy shit. That is longer than The Godfather, both of them, the good ones of course. But after several days, I am finally here to give my review on this.
Now, as I said in the intro, I'm a novice when it comes to Evangelion. I'm not one of these fans that waited 9 years for this movie. I watched all of this in the span of like a couple of days. If I had to wait 9 years for this movie, I don't know how much my opinion would have changed from that. But all I could do is give you the review on the movie no matter how I watched it. And honestly, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's my favorite out of the whole rebuild series. I love the first half of this movie. Other than the fight scene at the beginning of the film, the rest of it is just Shinji, Asta, and Rei at the village. This part of the movie really expands on this group's character development. And it also really expands on Shinji's classmates' character development, which I really enjoy because towards the end of the original anime, they were cut out prematurely. I think my only slight criticism I have for this is that it is really slow. But I really enjoy it because it reminds me a lot of the original. The original anime had a lot of slow moments, granted maybe not for this long, but it still reminds me of it. The dialogue is also pretty good in this part as it expands upon the characters that I previously mentioned. It is also really good towards the later half of the film as it expands upon other characters such as Shinji's father, and a good chunk of the dialogue, especially towards the end of the film, can be left up to interpretation. Now let me get to one of the main things I love about this film. It's also in my thumbnail. This movie, for the most part, is beautifully animated. I say for the most part because there are some parts of the movie that range from kinda unpleasant to look at to, oh my fuck, this is ugly. For example, in the beginning of the film, there's a huge fight scene in the sky above a crimson red city. And yeah, there is CGI in this, and I'm not a big fan of that, but it's incorporated well with some good choreography, so I let this one slide as it's still a beautiful fight scene. Another example, and a slight spoiler alert here, but not really, the big head of Rei is CGI'd. And yeah, it's completely ugly in comparison to the original head of Rei in the films, but I let this slide because it's supposed to be creepy, it's supposed to be kinda ugly, and I feel like they went with that. I guess I might be reading a little too much into it, but I mean, it is very unpleasant to look at, and I think it should be. Now, an example that I can't excuse is the very last fight scene of the film. I won't say with who because I don't want to spoil it, but let me just say it is fucking ugly to look at. I mean, the choreography sucks, the mechs are really ugly to look at, and every time they hit a building, there's no debris, it just flies around like a building block. Now, I want to emphasize this, the moments where there's bad animations are very few and far between. The majority of this movie is very pleasant to look at. The second half of the movie really ramps up, and shit starts to hit the fan, the plot starts to move along really fast. Now, my only criticism with this is that it is a little complicated, so it might take multiple times to watch this to really understand the full thing, as there is a lot of interpretation to it. This is a slight nitpick because the original was also complicated, it also had a lot of interpretation, so this is coming with the territory a little bit. I don't want to go too much in detail about the ending as I want you guys to experience it because it's left up to interpretation from viewer to viewer. With that being said, I did enjoy the ending quite a bit. So all in all, would I recommend this over the original? Not exactly, as I do believe both versions offer pros and cons. In my opinion, I do lean towards the original, but I also think the reboot series has some things to offer that the original doesn't. But I do recommend you watch the original series and the reboot series, including this movie. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing, and comment below what I should do next. I'll do movies, games, anime, shows, whatever. But again, thank you for watching.